everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the to this discussion that where we're going to delve a little detail with my esteemed panel here on the status of data centers in India. What's shifting globally, and how is it going to make an impact in our country? As we all know, that India system is actually going through a massive change. Higher digital adoption, a growing internet user base, and surging demand for cloud and edge services. India is fast emerging as a global data center hub. Initiatives like the data center policy, which increase investments from domestic and global players, which are pushing data localization and are also accelerating our data center growth. At the same time, with the rise of AI significantly reshaping our world of work, the data center landscape is also making a huge change, driving the need for high performance computing, energy efficient infrastructure, and massive data processing capabilities. Are not only increasing the demand for capacity, but also influencing how data centers are designed, operated, and optimized. Despite accounting for 20% of global data creation, India 3% of the world's data center capacity, highlighting a significant gap that demands urgent expansion and innovation. Today, as part of my esteemed panel, I have Piyush Gupta, Vice President, Sales and Business Development, Prasad Tilve, Head of Strategy and Hyperscale Business Capital Land, and I have Rohan Sheth, Head DC Build, Co-location and Global Expansion with Yota Infra Solutions. Background of data centers. Today, with my panel here, we'll delve into the evolving role of data centers in India, impact of artificial intelligence, and what lies ahead in this transformative journey. Prasad, Rohan, thank you for joining us on this very exciting conversation today.
Thank you so much.
Prasad, I'll start with you. Given what's happening globally and also in India, within the data centers spectrum, how do you think is the data center strategy evolving to not only meet the high volume demand in our country, the infrastructure demand, and of course the AI, Gen AI, and the agentic AI shift, both in the capacity, capability, and also the analytics requirement?
So thank you, Niti. Very opt question. And so before I answer this, let me give a short introduction to Capital Land, my company where I work for. So Capital Land is Asia's largest real estate investment manager, and we are headquartered and listed in Singapore. We are a 117 billion fund under management company, and our market cap at Singapore Stock Exchange is around 18 billion. We are present in 47 countries, 270 cities with 2,500 plus properties globally. And in data centers, we are a true DC platform having 17 years of experience. We are currently 27 data centers across the globe, especially in Europe, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, and China and India. We are 800 plus megawatts of data center expansion. There are operating data centers as well as a pipeline which we are developing. So this is about my company. And coming back to your question, how India data center strategies are evolving. Yes, there is a huge change in terms of data center strategy, and the India DC strategies are evolving, and this transformative change is happening because of the three key stakeholders. So the first is the Indian government. Second is private investments in data centers, and the third is our customers. So when we talk about Indian government, the central government policy 2020, which gave a data center infrastructure status, that was a big move in 2020, and the followed by the state government policies where single window approval or ease of doing business or DC SEZ kind of announcement. And on top of that, the Digital India initiatives. This has all fueled, data center strategy. And the icing on the cake was India AI mission, where government themselves announced 10,000 plus crores of investment, not only in infrastructure but also in GPUs. I think this was the moment for all AI companies. If you look at the second factor, that is the private investment. Now, last 5 year private investment has been around 60 billion in the data center sector, and in coming 5 years, it is going to be more than 100 billion. I'm talking about 100 billion USD. So DC market, which was valued as of today is around 7 billion USD, is going to double. That is 14 billion in next 5 years. So if you look at the growth, it is doubling. If you look at the investment, it is doubling. If you look at the valuation, it is doubling. And also the data what is created in last 3 years, it is more than the data which is created for last 20 years. So even the data demand is huge. So these are the factors which are driving the strategies and evolving new strategies. Now the third is the customers. Now customers are not only rapidly adopting, but they are also investing in this technology. And this technological advancement for data center players like us is a high density racks. It's a AI ready data center. It's a future proof data center. And when I talk about high density racks, now what we are experiencing, the densities are increasing multifold. So a rack which was a 6 kVA, now we are talking about 100, 125 kVA rack. So it's a power pack infrastructure, and with all this, the strategies are evolving.
Thanks, Prasad. I think with so much of new investment coming in, government's, focus in also making India a data center global hub, I'm sure there's a lots of change happening both in terms of skill requirement that we have and also the new jobs that will get created eventually. Piyush, I'll just come to you. Uh, Two questions I have, and maybe after you give a background about your organization and yourself, how do organizations prepare their talent to meet this data center requirement? What are the skills that are changing? And are there any specific long-term capabilities that have to be built instead of from outside, from a talent acquisition perspective?
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Piyush. I represent Vulture. So Vulture is a global cloud platform with 32 data centers around the world, of which 3 are in India. So our spread starts from Honolulu on the west coast, rather ahead of the west coast on the US, and goes right up to Sydney. So we are in North America, South America, LATAM, Europe, Middle East, India, and then whole of Asia right up to APAC. So we are a infrastructure as a service provider, high quality compute, predictable pricing, and GPU and CPU both. So we have 185,000 customers around the world who consume these services from almost as many countries. And I'm very proud to say that no customer is away from a Vulture data center more than 40 milliseconds throughout the world. Where the population is, we are within 40 milliseconds from where the customer is. In India itself, we have around 5,000 customers who proudly consume Vulture services every day. So that's about Vulture. Recently, we got funded very well. We had 2 rounds, one of equity funding, one of debt funding. So we are 600 million plus funded as I speak to you. And the more important part is for the last 20 years that Vulture has been in existence, the first $100 million ARR was crossed without any dilution of equity in the company, and which is a key distinction very 3 or 4 companies in the world have enjoyed. Now, coming to your question about jobs. With the coming advent of AI, which started a few years back and now gaining mainstream, the way to approach any job is becoming very different. AI is the new computer literacy. It's like knowing MS Excel, it's like knowing MS Word. And back in the day, some of us may remember, there used to be these MS Excel classes run by the company. But then RDBMS and coding programming, no company ran because it was very complex. Now this AI literacy is the new computer literacy. That is the starting point, and that's where I want to start from. Traditionally, a data center job revolved around two broad verticals, IT, non-IT, which had security, non-IT infra, and IT infra. When I say physical security, it is the physical upkeep of the maintenance and the access in the premises. Within non-IT, there are two verticals broadly. One is called power, one is called cooling. And within the IT, there are four broad verticals: compute, storage, network, and security. Now, the security is a sub-horizontal which cuts across network, compute, and storage. But AI is the full horizontal which will now cut across IT and non-IT. When I say electrical, power, compute, storage, network, all controlled by IT. Now, traditionally, these jobs were siloed and everyone a specialist of his job and managing the data around his equipment or his role and progressively working on it to predict failures, to avoid injuries, to make systems which are robust, foolproof in each of these IT and non-IT areas. Now, with the AI coming mainstream, everybody will have to be AI literate. And when I say AI literate, it is cloud first approach, ability to handle big data, do know basic DevOps, AI ops, fascination with automation. It should not be scary. Things like Python should be known to all. And on the other side, software is also getting so sophisticated that with no code, low code platforms becoming mainstream, we are actually coming back to the new normal. So it is not difficult. Otherwise, it would have been very complex to do AI and everybody to learn AI and do coding. So with no code and low code gaining prominence, again, we are coming back from the difficulty curve. So AI is the new horizontal which will cut across everything. And AI literacy skills will be the new skills which either people will have to learn or company will have to teach. But I will still say people because it is your job duty to learn while organization can facilitate. So that's about broadly AI and its application in data center jobs. So now if you break this AI into two parts, there are three components which make AI. One is the data, second is the skill, and third is the resource. When I say resource, it's GPU and all of that. Now there is enough big data available within the company around every machine. If I say data center, chiller, transformer, everybody is producing enormous data at all times. Similarly, IT gear is producing enormous data at all times. So the guy or the person managing this has to be literate to handle this data and predict something. There comes the skill part, which I told you about: familiarity with AI ops, familiarity with DevOps, familiarity with low code Python type of programming. And the third is the resource. To run this data, you need a high powered resource, which is GPU, which can be in your own data center or you can lease it even to run your own machinery. Now, on this data, again, there are two parts. This is, I'm going slightly beyond the brief of this subject. One is your in-house organization data, your legacy data, which will help you predict failure, on which you can make an ML. Second is there are enough data libraries around available from which we can source unclassified non-personal data. For example, if there is a chiller, you have 5 chillers running for 5 years. So you have data points only of 5 chillers for 5 years. And basis that big data, you will predict what will go wrong or what will go right. Versus if we get a chiller performance data around the world, either companies collaborate, like we say unmasked health data. Similarly, unmasked, masked machine data. And that can be a library for all so that everybody can, use this to optimize and foresee their systems more efficiently. So the last one is on a policy side. People have to be really collaborative to share this data. Government may have to come up with a framework to force, like on health now, there is almost an attempt being made that every hospital should share its, minus the patient's personal information, the demographic data around certain diseases. Similarly, around machines. So data center management is more around running these machines and systems. So this data, if it is sourced from public domain, match it with your own company data and make more accurate and precise prediction. What was the second point you said, madam?
So I was saying, what are the kind of new skills that are coming? What kind of jobs that will eventually get created?
Yeah, so new skills required are these only: ability to have familiarity with DevOps, ML ops, AI ops, and more importantly, to envisage the whole thing as a cloud first system rather than a flash in the pan. When I say AI, it is continuous learning, legacy data, current data, and future prediction. So everything has to be viewed from a lens of an always on and a continuous process rather than a data point on which I have to look up the screen and say yes or no. So that's a whole new mindset. And for you to perform on this mindset, these basic building blocks around AI literacy, which are DevOps and all these which I have mentioned, are very, very important.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Piyush. It's intriguing because a lot of people, and you, I think, very nicely defined the AI native job seeker
AI
work.
literacy will be like computer literacy.
Yes,
That should be the
absolutely
starting point.
correct.
Like computer literacy was tough 25 years back.
Yes.
People are finding difficult to put a macro and do a mini program in Excel. Now everybody is hands on. Similar things, either through college or through jobs or on their own, will find their way into their day to day work life.
Yeah, and in my view, probably it'll be a all of the above sort of a thing, Piyush, like you
Yeah, yeah,
mentioned.
all of the above. It is not
It'll
either
be
or.
can be either or. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rohan, from your perspective, given that there's so much of shift and the demand of talent and skills also shifting very rapidly, it's specific to the data center we were discussing. From your perspective, how do you think organizations are preparing for this? One is the growth in the whole data center industry in India. Two is the shift from, like he said, everyone should know Python, but to do what, right? I mean, are you looking at, an AI integrated learning? Are you looking at something that will help them be productive, efficient? And obviously, we're talking of global workforce. I mean, it's interesting mentioned about the volumes of data that their organizations are managing, and so does your organization as well, Rohan. How do you think organizations are thinking of this shift and preparing themselves and their workforce for this?
Sure. Uh, Hi. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rohan Sheikh. Uh, I head the co-location services and expansion portfolio at Yotta. Yotta is we have the advantage of being the newest player, or you can say the youngest player in the data center space in India. And hence, the AI adoption or the AI wave which has come in, quite recently, our data centers, or you can say we have, traditionally we don't have the old data centers, or we did not have the all our data centers and everything are quite in terms of design, in terms of, automation, in terms of the practices that we follow, are, quite new, and hence the adoption or of AI into our data centers has been a relatively easy, you can say, a transition for us from the cloud-based systems and typically how data was managed in the data centers to the new AI-based, the environment. In the same line, we have been the first company in India which has deployed 16,000 GPUs. We have, which are going live in our data centers in Navi Mumbai. And under the India AI mission, which we just discussed a few while back, Yotta is the largest supplier of GPUs, which has partnered with the government of India, and we are supplying GPUs to the Indian AI companies. So carrying forward to your point about discussing about the company's role in this. One is the physical infrastructure part, as you said, as we Prasad mentioned, and that traditionally from a design perspective, the loads have changed, that rack densities have changed, so your cooling mechanisms, your the power that each and every rack consumes, that has increased more than 10 times. So your entire engineering, your entire way the power and the cooling that goes into a server hall, that entire design is changing for the server halls and for the data centers. So for any data center company or a service provider, it is very important and critical that the way they design for any new data centers or their existing data centers, the flexibility and the entire design is as per the scalability is as per that if the data center has to serve or handle the high performance or AI workloads, then the entire data center mechanism, whether it is the power, the cooling, your BMS and entire system is up to the challenge. And the flexibility is there that these loads can also be managed in your typical data center. In terms of the manpower and the systems, as Piyush just gave a elaborate answer on that you cannot just replace your old manpower, and all these things are not a 180-degree or a 360-degree change. Some of the traditional approaches into a data center, like your data center operations, your IT operations, the backbone still remains the same, which was there in the traditional data center or a cloud-based data centers. The only thing that has changed is that the AI has become new norms. You just break it down. Data center is typically, you can say, a 3 or 4 level kind of a, there are 3 4 competencies or 3 4 layers of people that maintain or run a data center. One is the physical design part, which involves the power and the cooling. Now earlier, you can say a electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer who used to design for a data center, the challenge in front of him was this design was for a, you can say, a 6 kW or a 10 kW rack, which used to serve your CPU loads. Now that same designing that these same engineers have to do is for a 100 kW or a 120 kW liquid cooled kind of a density racks. So there are, the engineering has changed. So these same engineers will have to now, upgrade themselves. There are, courses available. There are design, new DBRs and the whole things that are how the engineering has to adapt and how the engineering has to change. That if that same server hall now has earlier, which used to support a 6 kW or a 10 kW rack, if the same server hall has to support a 120 kW rack, then that same engineering team has to now upgrade itself so that they can design for a 120 kW rack. The engineers are the same. The same goes for the network. In terms of the network, the speed bandwidth that is required, or the infrastructure, or the the design that is required with the same GPU racks, the same AI racks, there are the level of network requirement, or the between the GPUs, the various technologies which are there, the infinite band which has come in, or the bandwidth consumption that has gone between the GPUs, that complexity or that network integration has gone many folds, which compared to a normal CPU rack. So as we mentioned, that while there is your team remains the same, but while there are courses which are available, which is upon the individuals to do it, the companies themselves are doing multiple training programs. You go to professional institutes, online institutes like Upgrade or a Byju's or all these things, they are also starting this AI, these things. And from a operations perspective, so network we discussed the engineering part. Then predictive maintenance. When you are running earlier for a data center operations, the only thing was, when it comes to data center operations, your chillers are there, your transformers are there, there are specific SOPs and everything which are there, which you may ensure that at the end of the day, if there is a third party customer or if your own cloud is running, your basic purpose at the end of the day, your KPI is that your data center has to run 24/7 without any breakdown. The same with that AI GPU, which is running 24/7 in such a dense requirement, and with the AI integrated, whether it is your cooling equipments, whether it is your power equipments, whether it is the GPUs that are running inside the data center, all are enabled or all are designed with an AI integrated in them, which gives you alarms, which gives you, if before the equipment is about to say breakdown, that gives you certain, signals that, okay, it is due for maintenance or something has to be done to prevent that particular UPS or a particular, chiller from breaking down. So now even your customer expects that instead of your operations team reacting to a particular emergency, there is enough training and you use that AI enabled equipments to do a predictive maintenance of your entire facility. That there is no, waiting for the fire to happen. You don't, dig the well when the actual fire happens. There is predictive maintenance and there is zero downtime for your facility. And I'm not talking about just the GPUs, even a normal enterprise customer who is just running his, normal, workloads on in your data center. The AI enablement is there in the, whether it is your non-IT equipments and even in your IT equipments like your servers, like your GPUs, like your normal, switches and all these things, that the predictive maintenance is and the training to how to use those, the AI sensors which are there, the AI, all these things, equipments which are there. Your operations team, your, people on the ground have to now upgrade themselves so that these equipments and to make the correct use of the AI enablement that, the companies and the equipments have upgraded themselves. The operations team also have to upgrade themselves, learn about them, do the requirement training and the put the man hours behind them so that the corrective usage of these equipments in terms of predictive maintenance can be met. So while the companies are provided the, in-house trainings and everything is happening, even if you go online, even if you attend, attend some, some webinars, seminars, and all these things online are available, courses are available for the same. And from, even if you go right down to the university level, campus level, there are workshops that are done. There are, you can say small kind of boot camps that are there for AI enablement, training of people and everything. So even giving you Yotta's example, the campus hires that we do, and the kind of in the last 2 3 years, the kind of AI awareness that these students also have when they directly pass out from their engineering degrees that they take and they directly come into the industry. You see a gradual level of increase in the AI adoption or the AI awareness that the students, even at the age of 21 22, that the students have. So people are aware that, as Piyush mentioned, that AI awareness is the new, computer literacy. People are training in terms of, getting, more and more adapt, more and more literate up to that. And, it is a combined effort of both the organization, service providers like us, and the people themselves, and whether they are in design, whether they are in, project, whether they are in, network architecture, IT operations, data center operations, all these various fields which ultimately make up a data center workforce. People have to just upgrade themselves. The work remains the same, the complexity has gone a level above, and with more and more training, people will get used to it and people will adapt to it.
Yeah, so Piyush, I'll just add to what Rohan is saying. And, you also mentioned that people will have to get trained through education institutes or themselves or organizations,
Yeah,
uh, specific to the new lot of engineers or STEM graduates that are going to enter the labor workforce starting another month from now, July, August, latest pass outs of STEM graduates. And then, of
yeah.
course, every year we'll have more and more people coming in. Uh, do you think that the engineering curriculum that we have, or the training programs that all of us do, whether it's through our organizations or so many other organizations that are doing skill upgrade, do you think the curriculum is actually getting upgraded fast enough to keep pace with the requirement of the organization? Because on the table with an industry player and an education institute, there is this whole industry academia gap, and people keep saying one is not working with the other. How do you see that, A, reducing, but B, curriculum is actually getting upgraded? And if not, what is it that the institutes need to do, and what is it that the companies need to do to ensure that, you know, I mean, today we know that there's AI at a certain level. Are our students all passing out with at least that much, if not more, information, knowledge, and the learnability? for future requirement?
Let's start from the basic and let's say think in AI. It's like thinking in Hindi and speaking in English versus thinking in English. So the moment you think traditional infra, look at jobs as silos, and then try to join the dots using today's AI. And that's the way the earlier generation will pivot because they have learned traditionally. Versus imagining a work in the world of AI, in the world of cloud. So that's a thinking change which has to come, which the engineering colleges surely have to add into their curricula and conversation to think cloud first, think automation first, think continuity at all times, think predictability at all times.
But
Today we are used to looking at the
Piyush,
data, which is
I'll
spot
just
data.
pause you here, Piyush. Are our education institutes even prepared to think
I'm
AI or
coming to that.
cloud?
I'm coming to that. So this is the gap I'm identifying.
Yeah.
Now, how to solve that gap, I'll cover in the second part. So once you establish the problem that we have to think in the AI literate way, to think as any process as a continuous process, think as data always as big data, not as spot data, not your local data. To read reports not only as a flash in the pan, but as a process that how it has happened and what will it take to. To do this, you need two, three fundamental computer skills to be added, like DevOps, AI Ops, and think in the cloud. Terraform, Kubernetes, AI tools, GPU labs. These are the things which have to be integrated into the college curricula at every level. Today, the broad answer is no. But the good answer is IITs, triple ITs, BITS are already including cloud compute into their systems. There are organizations like NASCOM, Digital India, which are helping people upskill and funding for it partly. Students can take up additional courses either through college or on their own, and this is not expensive, luckily. It is not a matter of cost, it's a matter of intent today. They can learn DevOps, they can learn AI Ops, they can learn AI ML tools, get certificate on various cloud platforms, including my company, so that they're trained on the cloud, they're trained to be thinking as born in the cloud. Today, systems or softwares are not created as out of server, then I will do coding, then I will store the data. It is all available in one platform, and be it any platform for a minute. And college have to embed this into their curricula also by adding to the flavor by getting industry guests, getting capstone projects, getting internships for their students to apply some of this AI on their job in a live project. Let's say in a data center environment, you pick up any device which has a history. So there is enough data available through multiple sensor in the repository of the company. Now somebody has to look at that data, clean that data, make it readable, make it AI ready. If it exists in that format, very good. If not, then the student will learn the data set cleaning skills first to make a data readable to the AI machine. Then write a small program around it, that what will be the fate of this data or this machine if these are the parameters, and then do a live test and see if that failure or success happens in the real time. Then additionally, we have things like in my company, DevRel, developer relations, which is a whole new full-fledged subject where we engage with all the developers around the world, virtually and in person, and kind of educate them on what the latest trends are in the world of AI, in the world of computation, in the world of software. And we learn from them what should the next step be. So it is going to be a mix of colleges beefing up curriculum, students also taking up some responsibility of this learning on their own, while the college still gets accreditations and tie-ups with various institutions and bodies. Industry comes in more than ready to collaborate. Any industry today, all companies are willing to collaborate with college and academia to bridge this gap. There are bodies like NASCOM, Digital India, CII who are ready to facilitate. And then having these all this together, it is not so much of a non-solvable problem because the computer programming literacy is very high. It is the next layer or one more way of looking at it. And once somebody does one or two projects like this to put AI on a running data, and then you can put it anywhere.
Sure.
So it's doable.
Yeah. So, question that comes to my mind, and Prasad, maybe you can respond to that is, uh, while, that computer literacy or software literacy or programming literacy is very high in our country. Okay, I also keep hearing a lot that eventually we may not need the programming literacy as much as we are needing it today. And if that is the case from your perspective, and really like to hear from you as an organization, what is it that y'all are doing to ensure that your existing workforce is upgraded, are ready for the next big change, which is the AI plus plus? And what is it that professionals themselves need to do? Because what Piyush is saying and what Rohan also mentioned is absolutely right, that we can't leave it only on organizations to upgrade themselves. Right? What is it that individuals we do to ensure that we are and we stay relevant to the organization requirements? And, Prasad, from your perspective, what is it that at an organization level you are doing to upgrade everyone and, bring them up to speed?
Sure. I think Piyush and Rohan both have given a detailed answer to it, but just I'll come to my organization, Capital, and that what we do internally to make the existing workforce, skilled up to the AI abilities. So we ensure that within the workforce there are key workforce who always want to pivot and upskill themselves. So we identify those workforce, we ensure that they get a proper workshop training, they get a in-house implementation training, and they also get training from the OEMs. Like we use top-notch mechanical, electrical equipment which runs the entire data center. So the OEMs are also running the workshops. They are giving certifications and they train the professional on site. So we ensure that each and every operational or the facility employee gets this training. Now, the second is we ensure that, so as Piyush said, it's like a horizontal learning. So we ensure every employee has a T-shaped learning curve. So they are expert of all, right? And they also have a deep learning expertise in one or two areas. So, for example, if I look at a data center, if there are three kind of levels, one is the facility manager, then you have the shift engineers, and then you have the engineers below that. So we ensure that even the engineers get the entire infrastructure stack training, and whatever task they do, they should have at least one or two levels of expertise, deep expertise in that particular task. So this is the kind of program that we have evolved in terms of data center because of the predictive analysis and everything is now, you don't have to be doing any manual task, and to see the dashboard, learn the uniqueness of each and every mechanical, electrical equipment. Uh, there are multiple softwares which have come in, there are AI agents which have come in, and you should be able to handle that because a one click can, it can make or break. So we are ensuring that the every workforce within the operations, also within the design, is up to the task. Now, the best is to dedicate 2 3 hours in a week. So what we do is we ensure that every like we ensure that all the employees should dedicate 1 or 2 hours in a week for this workshop, and we also keep a tab of that, and we identify the AI expert out of. So this is the way we are doing the AI management within the company.
Do you think, and maybe Rohan, you can answer this, is there are created, in the data center segment with so much of shift happening, what could be those new jobs? What new skills will be required? I mean, of course, we know for the current workload and the workforce, we are aware of what are needed. But if there are new jobs getting created, what would those jobs be? And a question, I would call it as an elephant on, in the room is, are there some jobs that will go away with this shift of AI-led data centers? Of course, it's going to be hybrid data centers and not just cloud or physical data centers. Are there some jobs that will go away, and are there some new jobs getting created? And if so, what would those be and what skill sets?
So I think typically, if you see the job, as we discussed in our earlier, session or the question that you had asked, the job definition will change. There are new nomenclature or fancy names which will come in as I went. There are certain jobs which, right now in our organization, as I mentioned, last 1.5 years, because of this AI thing coming in and, GPUs being live in our data centers. So, I'll just give you an example of, like AI infrastructure engineer or an AI systems engineer. Now, what he or that role specifically demands from an engineer is, the skill sets that he requires is a GPU architecture, that this H100s or B200s, how do they run, or this network architecture of Kubernetes, or Slum or Ray, orchestration. Then this network storage optimization, experience with this AI accelerators and model serving platforms. Now, if you just compare it with the traditional jobs, a person who used to a data center operations guy, who used to, before this advent of this AI, who used to run a normal CPU data center. If you see only the instead of the CPU, your rack or the CPU server, the CPU has been replaced by GPU. Your normal network cabling, Cat6 cabling has been replaced by this InfiniBand, and this Kubernetes and everything has come in. Your storage devices, network devices have become more dense with regards to what they were earlier, and your training and everything is changing. As we discussed earlier, it is like you are from a 5 kilometer run, you are now doing a marathon, a 21 kilometer half marathon, which eventually, as and how the dense environment of this, see, remember, in uh, AI and GPUs also, right now we are mostly talking about training, and the actual implementation of enterprises, the the pharma industry, the all these other typical industries like automation, machinery, these enterprises adoption of AI, once these trainings and everything go, this inferencing starts, that is still a level of, say, or timeline of 1 or 2 years, say, after from today, that we are looking. So these skill sets or these role definitions will actually happen. The whole data center AI things that we are looking at are just going to get more and more in demand and more complex. And you're going to see when the actual enterprise adoption of AI workloads is going to happen, and that will is not far away in the near future. So what, see, the other example is your platform engineer, machine learning platform engineer kind of a thing, or an AI security and governance lead. Now, AI security, cyber security guy who is running your normal cloud enterprise load, now when he deals with a GPU running AI workload, there are certain skill sets in terms of cyber security. Your risk assessment and everything remains the same, your fundamentals remain the same, but now with terms to your normal, instead of a normal CPU and your normal cyber security, the kind of workload and the kind of training that you had over the last 10, 15, 20 years, now it is all related to your, with respect to your fundamentals remain the same, but now with regards to your normal, say, co-location or a cloud environment, it is now everything is with respect to your AI workload. So ultimately, as I said, the name cloud AI architect or a AI ops engineer, your operations engineer and all these things, so everything, the fundamental basic, you can say, the jobs will remain the same. The only thing is the flavor, or the, you can say, the 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 skill set that you will require, the the or the flavor that you have to add on top of the existing job, is that everything will be now with respect to GPUs, with terms of the AI workloads, whether you are from the IT side with Rukasu, because if say tomorrow, if I go to a data center operator or a service provider and I say that I know a basic coding development in any of this Python and everything, but that is required with just the basic cloud environment, a basic CPU element. But the moment you put a GPU in front of me and the how the AI workload happens, at that point I just raise my hand and say that this is something that I'm not aware of. Then the company will also be hesitant in arraigning, because they, as we mentioned, so much of investment is being put in, so much of your, you can say, your company's investment and your profit and your revenue is resting on that entire AI, rather from the design to your implementation. Then the people also have to upgrade. Your traditional jobs will remain the same. It is just that no a new kind of a job is going to come. It is just that whether it is on the infrastructure side, whether it is on the network side, the design side, or the data center operations or the IT operations, as we mentioned, the nomenclature is now going to be with respect to the GPUs and the AI, and your training and your development has to be that, right? People over gradually, when the engineers, for example, as we are discussing today, that are there in the data centers, most of them, if you check their background, they earlier used to work in a commercial real estate kind of a background or a residential projects. But when you come to data centers, the complexity in design, in terms of power, in the cooling, in terms of the number of cables intersecting with each other, and the cooling piping and everything that comes in, the security, the BMS, a normal commercial real estate engineer takes a couple of years to understand that level of complexity. When he does a couple of projects, data center projects, then whether it is a contractor or a vendor or a service provider like us, then we get that confidence in him, and he himself gets that confidence that now if he has to work on a data center project, he will be able to do it with such level of complex piping and all these services coinciding with each other. The same is the case with AI, that till now there was a certain level of complexity in terms of the design and network and everything. Now with this AI workloads coming in, the rack density is increasing. Once he does a couple of projects, once he works in a couple of such high density environments, then the same engineer or the same operations guy will get that, whether it is an L1 level of engineer or an operations head, that it is about the practice, it is about upgradation of the skill set. And then, as everybody is on the panel is mentioning, the companies are providing the requisite training, they are upskilling, they are there is enough upskilling workshops that are available either in the colleges, either on the other platforms, online platforms and courses that are available. So once you do the basic theoretical training, once you involve yourselves in a couple of such projects, then that confidence and that skill sets will automatically get developed.
And Piyush, do you think that there are new cross-functional roles that are coming up in organizations which are just bringing a guy, the data science guy, the DevOps person? Will there be like a multi-skill requirement from one individual in the future?
100%. The roles will pivot and will be a combination. Number one, impregnation of AI in all what they do, like it was computer programming or Excel or software. Today, you can't run a company without a system which is computerized. Similar here. Coming to specific terms, you will always have specialists, like Prasad said, specialist of one, jack, master of one, and jack of many. These are called T-shaped roles, very deep in one, and horizontally you learn a lot of skills. So, and more importantly, before I come to the examples of such roles, it has to be a mindset change, automation first. You should not be scared to look at voluminous data, because AI is all about data. There is too much data and you process it very fast. So it is high velocity, high volume, and high variety of data coming to you or for you to manage. So for that, you need these tools which will help you manage this data, handle this data. You cannot do it manually at the speed at which it comes in and the speed at which you have to give the output. There comes these AI tools. in between to process all this high speed, high volume, and multiple type of data. Some from within the organization, some from public sources. For example, if there is a payment fraud detection system and I make a GPU payment, sorry, not GPU, what is that called? GPay payment from my phone, 100 rupees to you now, and 5 minutes later, the same payment arises from 100 kilometers away. That means the phone has been hacked. And the bank should stop the payment. And my lat long are known to me, not to the bank. Bank has my account data, not my physical availability data today. But they still do it. So this high speed, high volume, multiple variety of data is spinning in the AI system across organizations, outside organizations, and people have to be trained to handle that. So the roles which will emerge will typically be cross-functional, like say infra engineer, which will handle IT infra. Now you have AI infra engineer, which is infra plus handling ML on infra, machine learning programs you write on infra for predictability of infra. This infra can be IT infra, non-IT infra. In data centers, both exist. ML ops, which is DevOps next version. You add data science to ML ops, DevOps, it becomes machine learning ops. So data science is again all about big data. Then you have platform operations. So you add AI into platform operations, this becomes intelligent platform. FinOps, these are all very nice words. So it is finance plus infrastructure plus AI ML. So the guy who runs all these three, you cannot be a finance guy only, you cannot be an IT guy only, you cannot be an AI specialist only. So a FinOps guy who will be the key to things like lending, credit rating, approving loans, approving insurance claims, has to be designing systems which is a combination of all these three. You should know finance, you should know infrastructure, which I say computer infrastructure first, then the other infrastructure, and then how to top it up like an icing on the cake with AI and ML algorithms, data ops, which is data engineering and infrastructure. So these are the new roles within the same IT infra, software infra management, which will emerge with AI finding common thread, joining all the pearls into a big necklace. And that's how these roles will emerge.
Yeah, I think scary and exciting is what I would call it, because
No,
that's
exciting
the future
because
is going
the
to be.
programming becomes so easy
Yes.
that it is no longer complex with low code, no code. If
But
it was you write and program and make it work bottoms up, then it was very scary and unsurmountable. But with the advent of AI, programming has also become oversimplified. And I read it somewhere around a year back. 7 million net new low code, no code applications are getting developed in the world in 1 year. So programming is no longer programmers' toy only. And here the programming which we are talking is applying some fundamental logic of AI into your work stream, into your process, and trying to make it more intelligent, more predictable, more savvy. So it's about, and like any learning, there is an uphill degree of difficulty and then you cruise. Same will apply here.
and you're right, because I think data strategy will become the core strategy in the future, right? And that's the heavy dependency on data centers like yours, which each one of you all are managing. You're creating a lot of secure data centers. Uh, Prasad, came to my mind while Piyush was talking about the volume of data, complexity of roles that are going to get created. This would mean, of course, that we need more and more secure data centers, and maybe which is why a lot of companies are doing the hybrid model of data center. So mean that the energy consumptions are going to be very high, right? There will be scalability challenges. Of course, AI readiness, AI challenges is something that we've already been discussing for the past 45. From your perspective, how do we ensure that our data remain secure? I mean, if I'm an end user or as a consumer, and I'm a customer to, let's say, one of your data centers, how do I ensure that my data is secure through your centers? And two, how do we ensure that there is more energy efficacy and efficiency built in through data centers? What would your take be?
Sure. So when we build a data center, we look at the long-term investment and the long-term duration, and even the customers who sign the contracts, it's a long-term contract. So we are talking about a contracts which are 7 years, and additionally, it can also be 7 year plus. So we are talking about 15 years of contract from customers. And we have to have energy efficient and scalable and AI ready data centers. And to have this, we are talking about a future proof DC. Now, uh, to build a future proof data centers, you should have a long term vision and a strategy, and you should also take some advanced informed investment decisions. So, for example, in our case, when we started data center investment way back in 2020, 21, uh, at that time the market was, I'm just talking about the core and shell. So it was hovering in between. The slab loading was around 1500 kg to 1800 kg, and we took an informed decision of going for 2000 kg plus floor loading. And slab to slab was around 5 meters to 6 meters. We took an informed decision to go for a 7 meter slab to slab height. With this, we were about to spend 30% more, definitely in terms of capex. We also ensured that we go with a steel construction. So these are some advanced decisions that we have taken at that time. Uh, so that so to ensure that the data center is future proof. When we talk about energy efficiency, uh, definitely the the data centers as of today who are managing the GPUs and the liquid cool infrastructure are energy efficient data center, because in one rack earlier, you say for example, you take a power envelope of 3 kilowatt, and the transaction compared to that 3 kilowatt of power envelope, now you're consuming 100 kilowatt of power in one rack, but the transaction have gone multifolds. Not multifolds is you just can't imagine. So the power envelope is same, the transactions and the the data is generation is more. So the data centers are by nature is efficient. Now, on top of that, what we do is we ensure that there are green design, green operation, and green energy. All the three factors are met. So when we talk about green design, we ensure that the data centers, we use low GWP gas for the chiller. So we were the first one to use that in India. State of the art electrical mechanical equipment. We use air cooled chiller, not the water cool. We save water. So these are all green things that we do. On top of that, we ensure that apart from the conventional power, we generate the similar amount of green energy and feed back to the grid. So we ensure that, like Chennai, we have a 30 megawatt of solar plant. In Mumbai, we are again going to sign up a 65 megawatt plant. So we ensure whatever we consume, we feed it back to the grid. And we also ensure that customer would like to scale in that particular data center. So we offer him vertical and horizontal scalability in the same data center. So this is the way, the organization balance that we strike with a DC building.
Thank you. And I'm just keeping an eye on the clock. I think we have 2 more minutes. So quickly, if I may just ask all three of you, Rohan, Prasad, and Piyush, 30 seconds of would you give to an organization, onto who needs to work on data and they're on partner with organizations like yours for data centers, and to employees who are probably seeking jobs within the data center industry. 30 seconds with each one of you all.
Sure. So for the data center organization, I think the first and foremost is it has to be a future-proof data center. So and a long-term duration contracts. We have to go for a very specific long-term vision and the strategy, a robust strategy for the cost efficient as well as the so you should not consume more green electrons. So that's the way we should look at. And for aspirants, I think they should upskill themselves. They should pivot and upskill themselves. So that's the key thing that I would like to close the comment.
Thanks. Rohan, 30 seconds.
Yeah. So for organizations, I think messages, as Prasad also mentioned, be futuristic, invest long term, and the growth of AI might be, in terms of it might slow, it might be fast, but it is here to stay. It is a long-term thing, and as we mentioned, looking at the overall dynamics of the data that India is generating and the kind of capacity that currently India is at, and the kind of growth potential that is there. So AI is why it might take some time, for the actual or contracts and everything, the business to arrive. And but as we have seen, with the kind of incentives government is giving, with the kind of investments that are coming in, AI is here to stay, and definitely it is the thing for the future. So organizations have to go for it. It is the right time for investment, and people should go for it. For employees and for aspirants who are looking to come in, this is one of the best industries at this point of time, with so much capital coming in, so much incentives from the government. This is one of the best industries to work on. And in terms of AI, all these noise about taking away some jobs or replacing old jobs or something, it is just a matter of, let us not be, there is no need to worry, there is no need to panic. It is just a matter, as we discussed throughout the last 1 hour, it is just a matter of upgradation. It is like, switching from an old mobile to a new, Apple 16. Everybody, when the time and need comes, everybody does it. So upgradation and learning and upskilling is the need of the hour. And the people who will do it, the potential is there. The industry is huge, and nobody is, taking away any jobs. AI is just enhancing and keep giving more opportunities to people across sectors, and no jobs are going away.
Thanks, Rohan. Piyush.
Thank you. So I will start with, it's going to be AI everywhere, whether it is organizations or people. So organizations will need to embed AI into its systems, and people will have to be trained to use that AI, manage that AI, create that AI. From the organization side, there are enough interventions done on the system side to bring AI into their processes, whether it is HR process, payment process, ERP process, whatever process. You will find AI chatbot everywhere. And which is a world which is happening, in which employees don't have much to do, as in they contribute to the projects, but organizations are putting AI as AI first, cloud first, as a strategy in their thinking while they imagine their processes or reimagine the processes. Coming to the employees, there will be two types of employees: those who are AI literate, those who have not caught up with the AI. Those who are AI literate and have embraced AI will surely have an edge, because, as I told you some time back, the jobs will be hybrid. It will no longer be infra engineer, it will be AI plus infra plus ML, called AI ML engineer, AI infra engineer, like and likewise everywhere. Now, there is enough and more knowledge available from the company, facilitated by the company, or on their own, that they have to pick up to learn to know this. And at this point, the responsibility of learning lies with the employee, not with the employer, beyond a point. And reason, here you are being paid to learn, so you have to learn. Versus in a college, you had the choice to learn because you were paying to learn. So on that lighter note, I will say thank you. And it was a wonderful conversation. And I wish you an exciting afternoon ahead.
Thank you, Piyush, Prasad, and Rohan. I think this was really, really interesting. We learned a lot from all of you on the evolving landscape of data centers in our country. As we've heard, I mean, structure not be
You're
just,
frozen in between.
sorry.
We missed you in between.
Yeah. I'm saying that I think the future of the data infrastructure industry will not be just speed, right? But how effectively and intelligently we integrate AI. We bring in energy efficiency, what Prasad was talking was quite interesting. And how all of us as organizations and employees need, interesting new job descriptions are coming in my mind, Piyush, when you called saying, an AI infra engineer. I think it'll be interesting how institutions also keep up to this change and be prepared for what the future is going to hold for all of us. So whether it is really organizations, employees, policymakers, leaders, I think it's the choice we're making today will define how our companies as well as our country are future ready in the digital ecosystem. Data, as I called out earlier, will be the heart of our strategic conversations, going forward. How effective, secure is our data is something hands and yeah, I think a lot to do. But great talking to three of you all. Thank you for your time very much. We learned a lot, a very insightful conversation, and thank you for being with us, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good
Thank
afternoon,
thank
guys.
you very much.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.